Hi everyone, here we are back for question 2 of this week's practice. Just like the first one, I'm going to ask you to look at the problem up here. Y is negative 2 times cosine of 0.5x plus 2 for x is between 0 and 4 pi. So I'd encourage you to take a moment, pause the video at this point, and work through on a scratch sheet of paper graphing this trig function. Alright, welcome back. Hopefully you spent a little time plotting that. If you have questions, make sure that you got as far as you could on this, and then hopefully me working through this clarifies those questions. If not, as always, I'm checking my email basically hourly. I'm in the Google Classroom every day from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. or a little bit beyond that, checking it, making sure you are in a good place on this. Be patient with it. After this is our 4th problem, I don't expect you to have it totally mastered, but we should be making little steps forward in this becoming clearer and clearer. So what we're going to do is set up our axis, and that's going to deal with most of this problem for us actually. So as we look through this, we're going to go from 0 to 4 pi, so that's going to be our x units. We're going to be vertically translated 2 units up. So I know that on my axis, I need my y-axis to include positive 2, and I need my x-axis to go to 4 pi, and starting at 0. So now let's consider that plus 2 shifts our principal axis 2 units up. And we're going to have an amplitude of positive 2. Because that is negative, we're going to consider that and take care of it in just a moment. So we're going to be 4 units is our max, and 0 units is our min. So let's put these bounds in. There we have our minimum of 0. Maximum of 4, it will never go above this. And then our principal axis is positive 2. So we have basically the 2 taken care of as our amplitude, the positive 2 taken care of as our vertical translation or principal axis. Now we just have to worry about this 0.5 and the negative in front of the 2, both of which we'll deal with in just a moment. So if we consider y is equal to cosine of 0.5, well that's actually 1/2 x without the other transformations occurring. We know how we find our period. Is we take 2 pi and we divide it by b. Well, in this case, b is equal to 1/2, so 2 pi divided by 1/2. So if we work this out, 2 pi divided by 1/2 is actually 2 pi multiplied by the reciprocal, which is 2 times 2 with our pi. Oh, let's not do 2 times 2 there, let's do 4. So this is 4 pi. So our period is 4 pi. So in 4 pi units on our x-axis, it's going to make 1 full revolution around the unit circle. So let's get to that. So as we set up now our x-axis, we're going to account for that. So 4 pi is 1 full period. So half of this is going to be 2 pi. And half of this, between 0 and 2, is pi. And then we have 3 pi. So the key points are going to occur at 0 radians, pi radians, 2 pi radians, 3 pi radians, and 4 pi radians. So last thing we have to take into account is what this negative does. So normally a cosine function starts at a maximum value, but what the negative does is it's reflecting it across our principal axis. So instead of being 2 units above our principal axis, we're going to be 2 units below. And from here it follows the same process. So we start at our minimum. Now at pi, a quarter of the way through, we're at our principal axis. Halfway through, we're at our maximum. 3/4 of the way through, we're back at our principal axis. And finally, at 4 pi, we are back at the minimum. So starts and ends at the same point, and that's how we know it's 1 full period. So now fitting a smooth curve onto this, or as best we can. There we have it. So there's our graph of -2 cosine 0.5x plus 2. We have one more video lined up this week where we're working backwards actually. We're starting with a graph and writing the trig function from it. So look for that. Hopefully this video helped, and let me know what questions you have.